All right, greetings, family. Once again, Mr. Demezy here. You know, I'm picking up from where I left off. We had a little technical thing take place, but you know, I was just talking about a brother who I have great respect and admiration for. I dare say brotherly love, Mr. Derrick Tremble, and I was talking about how, you know, through Derrick Tremble's community activism, through his community service, through his legitimate love for the people and the commitment to service, he landed the best possible job he could have gotten. Derrick Tremble was not above doing community service through baseball. He was not above doing community service through cleanups. He was not above doing community service through canvassing. He was not above doing community service through mentoring with young men. And Derrick Tremble had young men involved in his campaign, teaching them some aspects of community service and selflessness. And he was doing it out of his own pocket, out of his own resources, out of his own sense of priority, out of his own sense of service. And so Derrick Tremble had these young men with him, and one time I went and gave one of them a belt. And after, you know, the election was over, Derrick Tremble lost. I don't really want to say lost because it's not really the best way to say it. He was in a three-way tie with Dot Benford and DeKeitha Stamps. And DeKeitha Stamps ended up winning the councilman position, and that's who I was supporting at the time. I was not against Derrick Tremble. I was for DeKeitha Stamps, and it's still that way. Because as a man, and I told this to Mr. Stamps at the time, that he was not a better man. He was not a better man than Derrick Tremble. Derrick Tremble is a better man than you are. Now, you might be a better politician, and as such, you can serve the people through these very turbulent waters that are full of sharks. But Derrick Tremble is a better man than you, and he didn't fight me on that. Because one thing we always knew, no matter what side you was on, it was not difficult to recognize that Derrick Tremble was just a better man, that his parents, his church, his community had invested something in him, and he had given a very favorable return on that investment in terms of his activation of his divine black self to the service of his community. He was not one of these people that went to college and got so miseducated or miseducated that he didn't want to live around his mama no more. And he didn't want to improve the community that saved up nickels and dimes to make sure that he got there and did the work correctly and on time. So he was hooked up and connected with the Lumumba campaign. And because of the Lumumba campaign, which I was also a part of, strove to victory on behalf of the people, just flying on the wings of love. And Lord knows we miss Chokwe Lumumba. But he was right with that victory team. And I was with the victory team of Charles Tillman and DeKeitha Stamps and Chokwe Lumumba at that time. So, you know, I was on the wings of love, too. And Peabo Bryson couldn't hit a note higher than where I was feeling. Howard Hewitt couldn't hit a note higher than I was feeling. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the brother from Earth, Wind, and Fire, Philip Bailey, could have hit a note higher. But very few people could have hit a note higher than how I was feeling. And Derrick Tremble is and was my brother. And we was able to ride on the wings of love. But he landed the best job that could ever come about. He was a community service advocate. I can't remember what his official title was, but the work that he did allowed him, the work that he did in, I think it was like constituent services, if I'm correct. He actually went out into the communities, plural, and asked the people what their problems were, and it was like a ministry. It was a spiritual thing. It was God working. He would go and ask them what was their problems, write them down, and then do what he could within the context of the resource capacity of city government to help solve their problems. Not just only as individuals, but also in terms of a whole block. So Derrick Tremble was truly in his element. Just like I said, like Jennifer Hudson and Fantasia. Jennifer Hudson lost, quote unquote, lost American Idol, but truly, there was no greater winner of American Idol than Jennifer Hudson. She ended up with 2 Grammys, an Emmy nomination. You know, she was in the movie with Eddie Murphy and Beyonce, Dreamgirls. She was on a Tony Award-winning play, you know, and then she had a #1 top album, you know. So the true winner of American Idol was Jennifer Hudson. You can't really call her a loser. She also got a husband who was a bodybuilder and a contract with Slim Fast. Okay? I mean, you don't get much more victory from that. So Jennifer Hudson was a true winner in life. Well, Derrick Tremble was a winner in life too. Just because he did not come out of the three-way tie in the election as the person that sits in the seat, he got the position that best fit his skill set and did not force him into being the type of person that would make him have to be ugly, which deals with the political games that are being played. You know, it's not just politics, it's politricks. And if you don't have some elements in you that allow you to play that game and still deliver what's needed for your community, then oftentimes, you know, you end up getting marginalized. And Derrick Tremble was such a beautiful person that I really would have hated to see him have to, you know, put his large feet in some small shoes in order to fit the whims and woes of other people who do not necessarily have the best interests of the community at heart. That's not a game that he was built for playing. The people who invested in him with the spirit of my art, with truth, justice, harmony, order, balance, reciprocity, and propriety. They built that into him, and he gave that regularly. And I just using this time to say, you know, in about a month, we're going to be dealing with the memorial for our dear brother, our wonderful community servant by the name of Derrick Tremble. To his parents, we love you because you could not have done a better job with a better person. To his community people that he talked about regularly, the church folks, the folks that was in his community, his teachers that he had. As it relates to Derrick Tremble, I don't know what happened with those other children. For better or for worse, you did not produce a better human being than Derrick Tremble. And for me to say that I don't miss him would be a lie. At that same time, Dr. McCune passed along, and I was going through some heavy grief. And it wasn't too long after that when Chokwe Lumumba went away. And I went through some heavy grief. And I never really had the opportunity to properly mourn either one of them, even though I went to all of their funerals. I never really had the opportunity to properly mourn either one of them because there was so much work that had to be done, and that's what they had dedicated their lives to. Derrick Tremble dedicated his life towards the liberation and salvation of the mind, body, and soul of the Afro-Can man, woman, and child. Perhaps he might not have articulated like I did, but that's what his life indicated, and his life work indicated. I love Derrick Tremble. I love the work that he stood for. I love the way in which he lived his life, and I really do love and hope to emulate his sacrifice. To Derrick Tremble, I want to say Ma'at Hotep, one life, one love, one enemy, one God, one aim, one destiny. May we continue to be a blessing to others.